to the stage. Okay. One of the things that I really, really like about Encompass is their willingness to help the technician out. The Easy Stock app costs you no money. The only thing that is a prerequisite is that you have to have an account with Encompass. You can sign up today. Looks like my banners are not running down the across the back. There it is now. Okay, so if you'll contact Reggie Williams, my brother from a different mother, there's his phone number. There's his email is there. Call him. He'll set you up, get you an account for an Encompass. So what does this Easy Stock app do? It helps me track all of my parts. One of the things that I can tell you is, as a technician, it was very difficult to keep total track of my parts. Okay, I knew that I had it. It's just a matter of where had I put it. One of the things about Easy Stock is it allows me to put things in a bin location. Okay, so let's say, on the trucks that I had on the driver's side, there were two sets of shelves. They were both 6 feet long, and the one on the very back had 3 shelves. The one in the center, where you open the door, had 4 shelves, and then there was as I opened the door on the side there, on that same side was what I called a hodgepodge and catch-all. So it allows me to take and assign parts and part numbers to a bin location. Okay. Whenever I do that, I now know where my parts are. If I need to go in and look I can actually look by part number. You can look at the description. If something happens, and let's say that I buy it from somebody else other than Encompass, I can check that part in, put it into my app, and at least I know that I've got the part and where the part is. One of the other things is whenever I was running a route and kept everything, I had 2 locations. I had my truck, and then I had another part stock in my garage. So I would literally keep stuff in the garage and keep stuff on my truck. So what it allows me to do is to know what I have in the garage and what I have in the truck. So one of the things that allows me to do with good certainty is that I can tell the customer, Miss Jones, I don't have that part on my truck, but I do have this part in my warehouse, and I can go and pick that up tonight, and I can reschedule it. And usually you're running 2 to 3 days out. I can schedule my part, and I can run your call back. I can be back in a couple of days. Or if it's really close to the house, and I don't have anything else I want to do, and I want to get a complete for the day, I can run back to the house and do it. Okay. Now, one of the other things that I can do is I can set this up for a will call. If I am close to one of my locations, let's say I'm going to be in Dallas at the end of next week. I have a class on Friday, so we're going to do a lockering class on Friday. So if anybody's in the area, go ahead and pre-register, get everything done, and we're going to have this lockering class on Friday. Okay. But if I'm close to the Dallas Encompass location, I can set it up as a will call. So what I can do then is I can run by the will call location, have them pull the parts, go down, pick up the part, and then get a complete. I mean, one of the things that I really used to think, if I have a refrigerator that's down, that to me, that's an emergency call. That's something that I really need to get fixed. Somebody can wait on a dryer, but if I'm going to lose a whole lot of food, I need to go out and do everything that I can to fix the customer's product without jerry rigging something so that it ends up hurting somebody. So Encompass allows me three things that I can do. Plus the other thing is if I like, whenever I worked for Circuit City, we had in the area that I worked in, which was Sleuthie Springs, we had 18 techs. With this app, I could go in and look and see if one of the guys has it that's close to me, and I can literally, I can call him on the phone and go, "Hey, Jim, have you got this part on your truck?" And he'll look at his app and go, "Yeah, I've got that." So, that's something that you really, really need to have. It makes it, you can't have it not being able to satisfy the customers. Okay. I really like this app. I really think that this is a great app. I wish that I had it whenever I was a technician. If you want to learn more about the app, okay, one of the things that you can do is you can go to YouTube. Okay. If you go to this queue for YouTube, this is the Easy Stock app. If you can't remember this and you don't have a pen, and you just go search for Easy Stock, Encompass Easy Stock app, and it will pull it up on YouTube. Okay, I'm going to give everybody just a minute to go ahead and write that down if you need it. All right. So here's the whole reason that we're here today. We're talking about the Frigidaire CGES3065. I actually have this oven in my home. I love this oven. The one thing that I don't like about it is the air fry. I have to put a sheet plate underneath it so that it catches it. Otherwise, I end up everything drops through, and I end up with a whole lot of mess. Okay, in my oven. But as far as the performance of this oven, I have had this for almost 2 years. I have done everything that I could to this oven, and I love this oven. I've never had any problems with it. Knock on wood. Okay. So one of the things that as we go through, we have to make sure that the customer has everything in properly. Okay. One of the things that is an imperative right here is to make sure that the telescoping guides are in the correct spaces. Okay. That you got to, if you look at it, you notice there's nothing at the top. Then you got 4 check marks. Okay. That's where you got to make sure that this oven is in right, because it won't be level. Okay. As we all know, one of the things that used to drive me crazy as a technician is for somebody to complain because they installed the oven themselves, and lo and behold, it's not level. And then they want to gripe and complain to you because the cake comes out funny, or whenever I'm frying 4 eggs, they run from the front to the back. There's always a complaint for the customer. Okay. The only way you're going to make anything right with this customer is to make sure that you have leveled the oven. Okay. Okay. Here's the slide out rack. I love the slide out rack. Okay. You have to make sure that the guides are facing the right way. If you don't have the guides facing the right way, of course it won't work. Okay. So that little glide snaps on, as you can see right here. Okay. like I said, I love this oven. I spent a lot of money on this oven, and I was very glad that I actually did whenever my other Whirlpool oven went out. Okay. So here's a good picture of how you have to put these guides in. I've gone in behind people, and the customer's like, "Well, I've got this box that I got, but I don't know what in the world it is." And all it is these guides. So for the oven. So this is a great thing for you to be able to slide your shelving in and out really easily. Okay. You have to make sure that the anti-tip is on. You can't not have this anti-tip on. If you don't have the anti-tip in and you pull this all the way out, and somebody has a 8-pound or 10-pound or a 20 or a 30-pound turkey, you're not going to be able to. It's going to fall right out on the floor. It's got to have your anti-tip device installed in this. So as I'm a technician, that's one of the things that I used to go and check. Whirlpool got sued about 15, 20 years ago because a child lowered a door, stepped on the door, and whenever the installer had not put the anti-tip device in and just pushed it into the slot, whenever the child stepped on the door, it flipped a boiler of boiling water onto the child and had third-degree burns all over its front and face. So make sure if you're the last one to touch it, you got to make sure that anti-tip is in, because guess what? If it's something that is really that it comes back, they're gonna say that you're the last one to touch it and you're responsible for it. Okay. You have to make sure that it's done. You have to make sure that all these are done properly. Okay. So here's a picture of using these guides. Like I said, this is one of the reasons that I bought the oven that I bought. That and the air fryer. The air fryer, now I don't have to have an air fryer. My whole oven is an air fryer. Now I will say this, it will heat up your house. Now that it will do. Okay. So each cooking function has its own auto set temperatures. So just remember that if I'm going to be using the bake function, that's auto set at 350 degrees. If I'm going to use the convection bake, that's at 325 degrees. If I'm using the auto, okay. The broil 550, convection roast 350, warm 170. The Sabbath mode is 350 degrees, and that's on any Sabbath mode. That's on any Sabbath mode range almost. Okay. So here's what I was talking about. If I'm the technician, I have got to make sure that the anti-tip is installed. If the anti-tip is not installed, you have to let the customer know. You have to have them. I always had them sign off that the anti-tip was not installed. I notified them. I fixed it, and there was the reason for the extra charge that I had. Okay. This oven, mine, like I said, is a year and a half old. The new anti-tip device is much better than the one that I have. The one that I have, I literally screwed the bracket to the floor. I had to slide it back in, and then I had to make sure that it wouldn't tip. So this is how you check it. You put your knee right in front of it and you pull forward on it, and you'll be able to tell if the anti-tip is in. If the anti-tip is not in, you've got to let the customer know. If you don't, it falls on you. Okay. So See the rating plate for the technical specifications? This is where the rating plate is. Okay. This ID plate must never be removed. This is your model serial plate also. Give me just a second. I had to turn that to voicemail. Sorry. Okay. So make sure that this plate is there. If it's not, I will tell you that this plate, if they use oven cleaner and the oven cleaner gets on it, it makes it difficult to read. Okay. Other thing, propane gas. Everybody knows that propane gas is totally different than natural. Okay. So the propane gas must be equipped with its own high pressure regulator. That's on the gas tank itself. Okay. Here's Massachusetts. That's one of the other things that you have to have. So just be sure that you do that you have all that information, right? Okay, so the gas connection. The appliance is shipped from the factory for use with natural gas at a pressure of 5 water columns. If your regulator is working proper, the inlet pressure must be at least one pound greater than the operating manifold pressure. When using natural gas, the pressure supplied to the regulator must be between 6 pounds and 10.5 pounds of water column pressure. Okay, so you have got to have that. If you don't, you're going to have all kinds of other problems. Okay, I had a guy call me and say, "Hey, listen, my igniter is not igniting the gas." And I was like, "Okay, well, how many water columns of pressure do you have?" And he goes, "I don't know." And I said, "Well, go get your meter, go get your however you check it. You got to make sure that you've got the correct water columns to be able to do it. Sometimes these get kinked. If you had somebody that had a long stretch of to the gas tank, that'll affect the pressures. You got to know all this information. Okay, I had one that the guy had too long of a run, and he had to have it fixed so that the installed a new regulator. The gas inlet is located at the back of the appliance. Okay, install the pressure regulator supplied with the unit on the gas inlet. Install the gas supplied with the unit to the inlet in the regulator. Okay, if you live in the state of Florida, you have to have a license to install a gas appliance. If you do not have that license, you are prevented from doing that. There are other states throughout the U.S. You have to make sure that you're qualified. If you're not, then you're going to have to call. Usually you can call the gas company and they'll come out and do it. But it's not, that's an additional expense, okay? So turn it so that it's hand tight. Once you get the regulator hand tight, you turn it another third of a turn. You don't exceed a full turn. If you don't, you can damage the regulator. I've seen guys try to crank them down. You can't do that. Okay. Here's a picture of this. Like I said, that's number one is the gas inlet. Number two is the gasket that it goes with it. Okay. And then 3 is the regulator. So that's exactly how it goes together. You have to tighten those down, hand tight. Once you get it hand tight and you can't tighten it anymore, that's whenever you put another quarter of a turn. No more than, I always tell everybody, no more than 3/4 of a turn, even though it says a 1 turn. Okay. So the other thing is, people don't realize, okay, what kind of BTUs they are going to get with this oven. Okay, people will try to do a large pot on a simmer burner. Okay, you got to use the right pot for the right burner. If you're going to use, like, you look at this, so the burner power and the bypass table, the maximum BTUs on burner number 1 is 1800. Okay, the minimum is 750. Okay, same thing with burner number 2. Okay, burner number 1, that's for extension nozzles. Okay, there's your water pressure. You should have 10 inches. Okay, pressure and water columns on your natural gas is going to be 5 columns, 5 inches. Okay. Okay. So here, I used to get this all the time. Can I adjust my flame? Yes, you can adjust the flame. Okay. As a technician, you've got to know how to adjust the flame and how to do it properly. Okay. Since all cooked up burners are of the dual flame style, the minimum gas setting must be adjusted for both the outer and inner rings. These instructions refer to a single burner. Repeat the following for each burner. Okay. Push the burner knob, light it so that it's in the minimum position. Remove the burner control knob along with the chronic spring and the knob ring. Loosen or tighten the highlighted screws to adjust the minimum flame. Okay. So if you look at the on the right hand side, you can see that number 1 is, it goes, you can see that if you if you turn it clockwise, you're lowering the flame. If you turn it counterclockwise, you're making the flame larger. Okay. When checking if the regulator is working properly, the inlet pressure must be at least one inch greater than the operating manifold pressure. When converting for propane, the pressure supplied to the regulator must be between 11 and 13 inches of water column. The pressure regulator located in the inlet of the manifold must remain in the supply line. I have walked in and they had removed the regulator. You cannot remove the regulator. You have got to have one. Okay. So if you have any questions, we'll stop in a little bit and you can talk about it. Okay. So one of the things that comes with my range, what came with it, were all of these nozzles. Okay. This is a propane kit. I kept it. I actually put it in the back so that if something happened, and because I had to convert mine from because it comes natural, so I had to convert it from natural to propane. I took, and whenever I removed everything, it comes in a little bag. I took that bag, I sealed it back up, and I attached it to the back of the unit so that excuse me, so that whenever if something happened and I took this range with me, I have the ability to go and convert it back to natural gas. Okay. So if somebody has got natural gas, great. If they have, like I said, this comes from the factory, and whenever it comes from the factory, it comes natural. So it's got to have this kit if you're trying to use it on LP gas. Okay. So setting the pressure regulator for propane gas. Well, how do I do that? It's pretty simple. Most everybody knows how. All I do is unscrew the regulator cap, unscrew the cap stem from the regulator cap. Configuration A is for natural gas. Okay. So it shows right there. There's A. Okay. Invert the plastic regulator stem to achieve the for configuration B, which is LP. Okay. Once I do that, I can then tighten. I can then put that back cap together. Okay. I can screw it. I don't over tighten it. Just tighten it tight and then turn it about a quarter to a half turn. Okay. So that's how you convert from natural to propane. Okay. When converting to propane, make sure the pressure supplied to the regulator is between 11 and 13 inches of water column. Okay. So if I want to replace the burner nozzles, okay, it's how I have to do it. So I'm going to remove the cooktop grates. I'm going to remove the burner cover, the flame. I'm going to remove the flame spreader crown. Okay. I'm going to remove the burner skirt, and then I'm going to remove the burner base. Okay. Then what I do is remove the tightening screws, which is number 5. You'll see those right there. After I do that, I'm going to remove the cover plate, and then at the end I'm going to remove the gasket. So I'm going to remove that internal number 8 and the external number 9 and replace them with the LP nozzles. Okay. So this shows you how you have to do it. Okay. And it's got to be done for every single burner, not for just one of them. If I'm converting this, I've got to do everything, every burner itself. Once I do this, I make sure that I have 10 inches of water column pressure. Okay. So I'm going to refit the burner components, follow the above instructions in the reverse order, correct the burner placement, pay attention to placing the burners in their correct zones prior to remounting them. Okay. 1800 BTU brass coated burners are to be replaced should be placed on the left and the right zones. You can see it right there. Okay. What I always did was whenever I got ready to do all this, I put them right there right next on the counter, right next to the burners themselves, and put them like I took them off. And that way, whenever I got ready to put them back on, it made it much easier for me to do it. Okay. So refitting the burners in order to be installed correctly, the shape of the burner skirt and opening must match the shape of the openings of the burner base. You'll be surprised how people will mess this up, and then they wonder why they don't get the right flame. Okay. So make sure that this is done. Okay. Then once you have done this, and I've got this, I've got it in the right position, I can insert my flame spreader crown, okay, back onto the burner skirt. Okay. After I do that, I can put my little cap on the very top and I'm set. Okay. Each burner component must be positioned horizontally and must use the correct interlock for each other. Check that they are fitted correctly by moving each component gently. If the component does not fit correctly or are inclined, they're not level. Adjust the position of the burner component until it remains in the fixed position. Okay. My dad has a cooktop, not a Frigidaire. It's another brand, but I had the same problem with it. His got knocked off, and we ended up having to change it. So I got out here and got it all fixed. We're all set. So this right here is the bracket this is the old style bracket. Okay. So this shows me this is the template. It comes on a piece of paper. So you have to fold it where it's showing and then you put it on the back wall. You push it on the back wall. You use that template, and you put it in. Okay. So like I said, you're going to fold this down. This is all just a piece of paper. Okay. So I can get these horizontally dashed lines right. So this shows me that I am going to put these 4 screws in. Okay. You have to make sure that you're hitting something. Okay. You can't just put it into a piece of sheetrock and expect it to work. So if you get there and you lift up on it and the thing is you can actually move it a lot, you need to check and make sure that it is proper. Like I said, you're the last one to touch it, so they're going to hold you responsible. Whenever you walk out, it's got to be like it should be. Okay. So all I do is I mark the location of the screws on the walls. Once I do that, I can now take my anti-tip bracket, put it on the wall, put 2 screws in it after I make sure that I'm drilling into wood, or that I have affixed something that will hold at least 200 pounds of pressure. Okay. So I'm going to fix the anti-tip at that. Here it is right here. It shows you exactly where it goes. Shows you the distance off the floor. Okay. You should be all set. Okay. And then once I get those 2 in properly, I adjust it for the level of the back of the range. I'm going to tighten those 2 down. Whenever I do that, I can now put those screws in the floor. I'm ready to go, and we're all set, and the anti-tip is installed. Okay. Like I said, I'm going to take and push this to the back again. This is the one that I don't have. This came out right after I got mine. Mine, actually, the legs slide into a little grill on the bottom. This is a much better system. They fixed it, and they did a really good job whenever they fixed it. Okay. So air circulation. If I'm a baker, I know that I have to have air circulation on the pan all the way around the pan to get a nice even cooking. If I don't, then I'm going to have the cake's not done in the center. It's not done on one of the sides. It is not good for baking. Okay. So, like I said, the hot air has got to circulate around each pan in the cookware. So this is how you would, for a cake. Looks like these are both spring form pans. So you're gonna have them separated so that I can get air all the way around the pan. If I can't get air all the way around the pan, I'm gonna have to put it on a top and on 2 different shelves like this right here. Okay. So if I'm cooking 4 layer cakes, this is the way that I have to do it. Okay. When baking with 2 or more racks, we recommend arranging the pan on the upper rack closer to the door and the pans on the lower rack, okay, closer to the fans. Make sure that the pans don't touch the internal glass pane of the door or the back wall of the oven. You will get uneven cooking. Okay. Bake function tips. When the bake function to cook most food items requires normal temperatures, okay? As much as possible, only one rack or position use only one rack on position 2 or 3 and center the pans. If you're cooking 2 racks, place the positions on racks 1 and 4, okay? Once again, these are your bake tips. Okay. Number 2, you have to fully preheat the oven. I guess I need to back up one. Okay. If I'm using a dark pan or I'm using a shiny pan, they cook at different times. They absorb the heat differently. Okay. So I have got to make sure that if that I'm using my dark pans, okay, those are recommended for your pies. If I'm using a shiny pan, I want it to be cakes, muffins, and cookies. Okay. Preheat the oven before baking items like cookies, cakes, biscuits, and breads. If you don't, I can tell you right now, I had a conversation with a world-renowned chef, and he was complaining that his oven was not heating properly. So I knew that I was going to be challenged as a technician because he's the expert, supposedly. So I got there. We talked about how he did things, how it needed to be done. He told me, I'm a chef and I know what I'm doing. And I said, well, sir, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but I will prove to you that this oven will work perfectly if you will just follow these instructions. And I went out to my car, which if I ever came out on a call and there was something that had to do something about temperature and cooking, I would go to my local grocery store. I would buy a chocolate chip cookies that are either sliced or already pre-sliced or coming in a roll. I did exactly. I like the ones that were pre-done because I could go, and most of the time I was using either a sugar cookie or a chocolate chip. The ones on this guy was a chocolate chip. So I went back, came back in where the oven is still cold. I said, now the first thing you have to do is you have to turn the oven on to the correct temperature. So we turned it on. I also always carried my own pan, my own cookie sheet. So I took out my cookie sheet. I made sure that I cleaned it off. Okay. I then took and I placed all of my cookies around like it says in the instructions. Okay. I read the instructions. The instructions say 17. I think it's either 15 to 17 or 17 to 19 minutes for cooking. Okay. So I waited, and the oven clicked off. He's standing there the whole time watching me like a hawk. I put my cookies in on the center shelf, just like it showed, just like it says. Put it in the center shelf on the center slot. Okay. So it was on position 2. Okay. Closed the door, and I waited. And he's like, okay, well, we'll see, because mine never, it's there. This oven is not right. It doesn't work. And I said, sir, give it a minute. So we get through, we finish it. I get ready to look at it. I go to check my oven, and I use the light switch. Okay. You do not open the door, because that destroys, that lets all the heat escape. So he was like, what are you doing? I said, I'm checking my cookies. He goes, you just open the door. I said, no, sir, you don't open the door, because it says in your manual, and I happen to keep a manual with me. Here's the manual. If you look right here, and I underlined that position, I underlined it, and I said, it says right here in the manual, do not open the door, because it allows the heat to escape. This is what the problem is. We got done. I got it out. I took and pulled them out of the oven. They were perfect. I mean, literally perfect. And the guy goes, well, mine never come out that. I said, sir, you have to follow the instructions. If you don't follow the instructions and you don't do like it's supposed to, then yes, sir, you're going to have problems. Okay. So that is my story with baking. Okay. Convection bake tips. Okay. Convection bake is optimized for multiple rack cooking. So if I'm going to have four layers to my cake, I want to use my convection bake. Okay. My mom used to always use the convection bake anyway because she liked the way that it baked. Okay. You have to learn to use your oven to your advantage. Okay. So when baking cookies and biscuits on multiple racks, use positions 1 and 4. When baking cakes on multiple racks, use position 1 and 3. Cookies and biscuits should be baked on pans with no sides or very low sides to allow heated air to circulate around the food. Once again, air circulation. You've got to have air circulation. If you don't, then it doesn't work properly. Okay? So food baked on pans with dark finish will always cook faster. That's one of the other things that I've told you that you need to remember. If I'm using a dark pan, it's going to cook faster than a silver pan. Okay. When placing multiple food items in the oven, allow at least 2 inches of space between them for proper air circulation. Once again, if I'm baking biscuits, I got to allow 2 inches around the biscuit before I place my next biscuits in order, or they're not gonna cook evenly. Okay. Convection roast. I love love a convection roast, especially whenever I'm doing what am I looking? A crown of pork. I like to use the convection roast for that. Okay, so convection roast combines a cook cycle with a convection fan and a heating element to rapidly roast meats and poultry. Heated air circulates around the meat from all the sides, sealing the juices and the flavors. Meats cooked with this function are crispy brown on the outside while staying moist on the inside. Okay. In addition, there is no need to reduce the oven temperature when using convection roast. The convection roast function is optimized for multiple oven rack baking. Okay. Placing an oven rack in position 2, next up from the bottom, refer to the convection roast function cooking table for the temperature and the time instructions when cooking this function. Do not cover foods when dry roasting. This will prevent the meat from browning properly. You have got to make sure that otherwise you come up with a rubbery tasting meat. Okay? Meat probes. You have got to put the meat probe in the right position. Okay? You want to put it on the fatty part of the breast. That's what I always tell people, okay? It says you can put it near the back. I don't like it next to the back. I always put it right there in the front on the fatty part of the breast, okay? You never try to drive something down through it. I have experimented with a turkey and tried to cook it using the leg, the thigh, and put it in there, and I was not successful. I tried it twice and ended up having to do something different. So for whole poultry, insert the probe into the thickest part of the inner thigh and below the leg. Okay. If I'm doing whole poultry, I've yet to be successful with that. I always do it for the right where it shows this on the one on the right hand side. That's where I put mine. Okay. If you have any questions, we'll talk about it in just a minute. Okay. For very thick pieces of meat, take care to insert the entire length of the probe to ensure the correct temperature is detected. One of the things, if I'm doing a butt on this using a convection bake, I can't do that, okay? Because I've got to be very careful, because if I touch the bone, that throws the whole thing off. It will not regulate the right temperature. If I have a ham, it has to be a boneless ham, or I have to be very careful of where I place it into the ham itself. If I don't, then I'm going to once again end up with a ham that's not cooked properly. Okay. Does anybody have any questions? I'm going to go back over here. Okay. Does anybody have any questions? All right. Well, I really appreciate everybody's attention. This was basically cooking 101 with an air fryer. I really appreciate it. I hope that everybody has a great day. I hope that you have learned and you have actually you have increased your knowledge. If you have any other questions, my name is scrolling across. My number's around on the bottom. If you're going to try to text me, if you're going to try to call me, just text me to begin with. My phone has a whole bunch of priority settings, and it'll revert you to a different voicemail. But if you'll text me, I'll call you back, and we can talk. You can also just email me. There I am, MitchWilliams62@gmail.com. There's Reggie's. Reggie is ReggieWilliams@Encompass.com. There's his phone number. Same thing I would tell you about Reggie. Reggie, usually his voicemail is full and you can't reach him. So just text him, and then that'll help you. You can go to your Google store or your Apple store, and you can get your excuse me, hang on just a second. No, pardon me. You can download Easy Stop from either Apple Play or Google. So everybody have a wonderful evening. We won't have a class next week. I will be in Dallas, Texas. So if you're in the Dallas area on Friday, come by and see me. I'll have a class on Friday. So like I said, everybody have a wonderful day. We'll talk to you later.